Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive, hidden problem, the real reasons incredibly smart organizations still manage to fail, and the immense, unspoken dangers of simply staying quiet at work. We are going to explore a crazy phenomenon that happens in conference rooms across the globe every single day. And, well, by the end of this, you're going to see exactly why biting your tongue might just be the most expensive mistake you can make in your entire career.
Okay, let's kick things off with a pretty chilling truth, one that usually gets swept completely under the rug. Massive corporate disasters, they are rarely total surprises. Seriously, think about any major product flop or strategic failure you've read about recently. Like, say, a billion-dollar streaming service collapsing in 6 months, or a classic beverage changing its recipe to massive public outrage. We always tend to assume these catastrophes happen because nobody had the data or the brains to see the iceberg ahead. But here's the reality, and it's a wild one. These expensive workplace mistakes were almost always seen early. Somebody had the data, somebody saw the flaw.
And that right there brilliantly illustrates our core problem today. The disaster wasn't a lack of foresight. No, it was a lack of voice. Those mistakes were seen early by people who just stayed silent. It literally all boils down to one unspoken concern, one ignored red flag, and ultimately a crucial moment where fear completely wins over courage. And just like that, a terrible decision is allowed to move forward completely unchecked. That is the dangerous side of professional silence that we really don't talk about enough. Let's get right into section 1, the cost of silence. So let's break down exactly how this dangerous dynamic plays out in everyday meeting rooms, because it's incredibly common. Paint this picture in your mind. You've definitely been in a meeting just like this. A presentation is happening. Maybe it's a big project kickoff. But as it goes on, something feels deeply wrong to you. Maybe the proposed timeline feels completely unrealistic, or the new strategy has these glaring, super obvious flaws. Or maybe a highly risky financial decision is just moving way too fast. Now here's the kicker. You look around the room, and you can just tell by the awkward shifting and the avoiding of eye contact that several other people notice it immediately too. But nobody speaks a single word. Which brings us to section 2, why we stay quiet. Why on earth do intelligent, capable professionals let these entirely preventable problems quietly turn into expensive disasters? Well, the answer is fear. We stay quiet because fear instantly starts whispering to us the very second we even think about raising our hand. It says, don't embarrass yourself. Don't challenge senior people. They make more money than you. They gotta know better, right? Don't create tension in a room that's finally agreeing on something. And the most powerful whisper of all, stay quiet and protect yourself. We convince ourselves that our survival in a tense room, especially around high-level authority, relies entirely on our silence. So silence wins, and bad decisions gain unstoppable momentum. Notice the really sharp contrast here between comfort and courage, because here is the hidden truth of the corporate world. Most workplaces completely, unintentionally reward comfort over courage. Without even realizing it, company cultures teach us super fast that silence just feels emotionally safer than disagreement. Going with the flow doesn't rock the boat. It doesn't put a target on your back. But remember, this comfort is a total illusion. Choosing comfort over courage in the short term absolutely guarantees failure in the long term. Let's move to section 3, 2 paths, 1 decision. Let's anchor all this theory in a real-world scenario. Imagine a confident leadership team prepping to launch a major, high-stakes project. We're going to look at how 2 totally different choices lead to 2 vastly different realities. First up, the path of silence. Day 1, an employee looks at the kickoff deck and immediately notices the numbers just don't add up. Massive risks are being glossed over. But looking at those confident executives, they choose comfort. They stay quiet. By month 1, that silence has spread. The executives keep speaking confidently because, well, nobody has challenged them. Then we hit month 6. The project struggles terribly. Massive amounts of money are lost. Pressure from the board skyrockets, and suddenly leadership is demanding to know why didn't anyone raise these concerns earlier. The tragic part? Someone did notice. They just never spoke. But let's take a step back. What does actual influence look like? True influence in your career does not come from privately noticing problems. Seriously, if you see a flaw but keep it to yourself, your value remains completely invisible. Real influence comes from respectfully contributing your insight publicly. You've got to bridge that gap between what you see and what the room knows. It's all about shifting from being a passive, invisible observer to an active, influential contributor. So, let's rewind the clock. Let's look at our second timeline, the path of tactful courage. We're back on day 1. The employee spots the bad numbers. But this time, instead of staying silent, they speak up calmly. They don't flip the table, they just raise a risk respectfully. By month 1, because of that single act of controlled honesty, the team actually pauses, evaluates the numbers, and adjusts the timeline to reality. And look at month 6, a massively successful, incredibly secure project launch. That single calm intervention completely changes the project's outcome, saving the company tons of time, money, and, let's be honest, embarrassment.
That brings us to section 4, the power of tactful courage.
So, what's the exact mindset and toolkit we need to actually apply this in our daily lives without feeling like we're risking our careers? Professionals with real executive presence know how to thread a very specific needle. They know how to challenge ideas without attacking people. Listen, if you have courage without tact, meaning you're aggressively blunt, overly emotional, or dismissive, you are just going to create defensive conflict. People will tune you out immediately. But tactful courage, that controlled, respectful honesty, that creates deep trust. It shows leadership you care enough about the outcome to speak up, but you respect the team enough to do it constructively. And this brings us to a golden rule that is absolutely paramount. Tone determines whether truth becomes influence or conflict. I really want you to think about that for a second. You can have the most accurate data in the world, you can be 100% right about the impending disaster, but if your tone is condescending, emotional, or dramatic, your truth is just going to spark an argument. Emotionally intelligent professionals understand that their delivery mechanism, their tone, dictates everything about how their message is received.
All right, let's get super actionable with this. When that familiar knot forms in your stomach during a meeting, do not react emotionally. And whatever you do, please don't disappear silently. Instead, keep these exact scripts right in your back pocket. Try saying, "Can we explore another angle?" See, it's collaborative, it's not combative. Or how about, "I may be missing something, but this could create a challenge later." This one is brilliant because it lowers defenses by showing humility while still totally pointing out the flaw. Or even just simply, "With respect, I think there's a potential risk here." These phrases are magic. They protect your professional credibility while keeping your workplace relationships completely intact.
And finally, section 5, creating psychological safety.
We've talked a lot about what you can do individually, but zoom out for a second. Why does this communication behavior matter for the actual survival of the entire organization? Well, as we've learned, many organizations don't fail from a lack of intelligence in the building. They fail from an environment of fear. High-level professionals and truly respected leaders don't just demand blind obedience. They actively create room for thoughtful disagreement. Because psychologically safe workplaces, places where people aren't terrified to speak up, they produce significantly better decisions. They foster way stronger collaboration, build healthier leadership dynamics, and ultimately result in far fewer blind spots. Bottom line, if you want a resilient company, you absolutely must make it safe for people to point out the cracks in the foundation.
A lot of these concepts are brilliantly detailed in the source material we drew from today, an incredibly insightful book called Mastering Professional Etiquette. Now, professional etiquette isn't about figuring out which fancy fork to use at a dinner party. It is about learning how to communicate truth with strategic tact. By mastering these behaviors, you protect your credibility, you expand your influence, you build rock-solid leadership trust, and you secure your workplace relationships, all without ever shrinking your voice when it matters the absolute most. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final, really provocative question. I want you to ask yourself this the very next time you're sitting in a meeting and you feel that strong urge to just stay quiet. If you consistently let fear win the battle in the conference room, what incredible value are you hiding from the world? Remember, tactful courage is your greatest professional asset. Speak up, do it respectfully, and let your value be seen. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.